having a meeting if you haven't looked at all of the potentials?
All of our concerns.
You have no response from any study. So why are we sitting here and why is it being entertained? That's the question. It sounds like it's already done, and you're just letting us vent.
And I have just told you that it is not done, it is not complete.
Right, but then we should be talking about the study, and we should be talking about the parcels, and what does the plan for what does the village want? We want to park there. We want to keep that surface the way it is. It's been damaged. I don't understand. You know what I'm saying?
Good idea.
I understand what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. They're proposing a project. Our job is to evaluate this project. As part of that process, we have the public in to hear what their concerns regarding this project are.
And the studies, when are the studies made public? Because you have to do an environmental
The
impact.
studies are already public. The studies that have been completed, everything is on file with the building department. There will be
I
additional,
requested it. I've got
Could we
it.
see
there will be additional studies based upon the comments we're getting right now. To expect a study on a comment that we got now is not realistic.
No, back in June, he's
The
saying.
development must take place on the solid ground, solid footing. And we know that those two parcels have already been established as being defective. And you're gonna make them better. But making them better is gonna change the course of the movement and also send water to adjoining properties, plus reduce permeable surfaces. You're gonna put blacktop that's gonna run water right onto 94. I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but we've seen that happen. Right. You-
All those high-rise developments there.
And you couldn't
There was a
move.
flood there.
So
First time.
that's all the issue is. That's what we want to be treated as we're gonna know something. Not that it's a game show and we have this, and if you come back again, we're gonna give you the answer to that. We need to see something.
We're
We need
trying to
results.
have around the public hearings to hear all of the questions. Once we have all of the questions, then we can work on getting answers.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. We're going to need a bigger spot next time.
I
Because
requested
we're
a
going to
high
have.
school. We were shut down.
And a microphone.
We were shut down.
Somebody taking minutes.
People can't hear, there's people in the hallway. You know what I was told?
Go to the high
Cost
school,
some money.
in the auditorium.
How much could it cost? I requested it.
Yeah.
This is about, this is about the taxpayers in this town.
If we could keep
and
the
we're all
meeting
against
in
it,
order, please.
right up front.
If we could keep the
okay?
meeting in order,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, this is about the taxpayers in the town, and I know I haven't found one that's for it. It's impracticable, what's going on, and it doesn't fit in. And another place for it, yes, okay, but not there. Okay?
Henry Pond. Pond.
My name's Henry Ponte, I live at 87 Capitol Drive in Stone Ridge. Back in 1981, my late wife and I were looking for a home, and we chose Washington. One of the reasons we chose Washington was its rural character. We loved Main Street, nice, it was aesthetic, homes. Now we're talking about apartment buildings on Main Street. It doesn't fit the character of the village. This village has changed dramatically in the 41 years I've been here. At the same time, echoing Tom's comments, flooding. Back in August 2011, the waters from the movement actually came across Route 94. First time ever. Tom and I spent over 24 hours, members of Manel Engine Company, rescuing people that weren't stuck. Granted, the project engineer talks about theory. My 40 years as an investigative auditor, I found one thing. Theory and practice don't always match. And finally, with all due respect to the board and Mr. Petrosino, I'd rather hear from the board than Mr. Petrosino, because it's your public hearing. You should be addressing the problems, not necessarily the planning board engineer. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
have Jean Galley.
Take 3 minutes out of my time getting up here off the floor. So clearly, again, like last time, this is a huge issue for this community. This is a game changer, and everybody in this room knows it. But I have a question for all of you. Have you read the multi-jurisdictional, multi-hazard mitigation plan that was prepared for the county back in 2018? Because there's some pretty startling things in there, including how the village of Washingtonville should have been working on mitigating what's going on with the mood now. But let's talk about numbers, because I think that's most important. And most everybody in this room, I'm sure, has lived through the floods that we've been talking about.
Yes.
And with that, you should know that Washingtonville, of all communities in Orange County, has the highest incidence of loss from floods, 240 properties. Now, this was published in 2018. This doesn't even account for some of the later storms that just happened in the last couple of years that Ryan had mentioned. Also, as far as damage goes, 4.5 million. The most amount of damage in the county occurred here in Washingtonville over that period of time. So that's pretty significant. $21,000 in taxes, that's what we're looking to get from this property, considering the cost of the damage that could be done. And what about flood insurance? How many of you in this room have flood insurance? How many of you have been denied flood insurance? So if there's a catastrophic flood, which there could very well be, given what's been going on with the climate, what happens if that unit gets flooded out and it's trashed? What happens to the character of this community? So it's multiple things. It's multiple things. But at the end of the day, clearly, we all don't want this. We don't want this. It's not appropriate. Instead, on that property, there should be a park. There should be, as this mitigation plan talks about, the way that land should be used after it's been flooded. And you all saw that we've circulated the picture of the flood that was there a few years back. You've seen it. Everybody has seen it. That should be a park. That shouldn't be another structure. It shouldn't be a blacktop. It shouldn't be against the movement. It should be a park. It should be a green space. I think it is insulting to the community that you didn't practice and get that machine up and running so people could look at it instead of this. And it looks suspicious, so that's why people are annoyed. And not to have microphones. That's not for you. That's for the entire government here. This place should be mic'd, and people should be able to hear one another without folks like me shouting.
Ho!
Property have flood insurance? So we don't get flood insurance. Does this property have flood insurance going forward?
I can't answer that question.
They can't get it. They can't get it.
But I will say this based on the design, I meet flood insurance requirements.
You can't get it. You gotta look at
You
it.
get it.
Okay, folks. I have Vincent Biernes.
You can get it.
Vincent Biernes.
They don't give them money.
Biernes.
Flood insurance.
Yeah, my name is Vince Biernes, 19 Somerset. I've been here in Washingtonville for about 12 years now in the village. 25, 30 years in the county. A lot of the things I was going to say was already brought up, but one thing that's just really touched on is the traffic. I mean, we all know people who live here. The intersection by Muffet, Library, that's already horrendous, and 70% of the people here are commuters. Washingtonville is a commuter town, and to put another high-density property on Main Street, come on. So is a traffic assessment or study being done?
Philip Greeley from Colliers Engineering. A full traffic study has been completed. The board actually had asked questions. We responded to that. That study is also under review by New York State DOT. Some of the mitigation that we're contemplating would be to upgrade the signals at both Brotherhood And at the main intersection, there's modified area to improve the efficiency. That intersection, when it was improved 25 years ago, or 30 years ago, they limited it because of the structures here in terms of lanes. However, since those signals were installed, technology has improved, so we have to offset any traffic increases that we have, and that gets done as part of a DOT permit. We have to get a driveway permit for access to this property, and that's currently under review. So traffic in the village, volumes are documented, the volumes are high in peak hours, the school bus traffic, but similar to any other village, that's what occurs. In terms of the study, it looks at the traffic generation for this project based on the number of cars. It looks at other traffic growth in the area. And again, the final determination on the signal upgrades to help move traffic is the New York State Department of Transportation. And that, if they require that, that's on the applicant's dollar. Has no dollars from the village. It's a mitigation that DOT would require applicants, just as on other studies, other projects, they require mitigation. So that's part of the process, and the village also would be able to weigh in with DOT on what would be required.
And the results of the study would be public information for everybody?
Yes.
And where we're gonna find that?
You can, so, Rich, if you want to provide, just so everybody as a recap, and I did pause your time, just as a recap, our chairperson, Selena Rofer, has recused herself from this application. The board has elected Rich Kalor Jr. as the acting chair. So Rich, would you mind sharing the appropriate email address, contact, so that you can be the point person and we can get people any questions about the application? Because all parts of the application are public information and accessible by the public.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What if you don't have a computer or you're computer illiterate? How do we get the information?
You can you can come to the building department during office hours, regular office hours. I believe the village hall is open, but you're 8 to 4. I believe they're open 8 to 4. If not, I would say 9 to 4. You're welcome to come in and take a look at the complete file.
Thank you.
As needed. Email address.
It's calormedia@gmail.com.
So CALORE media@gmail.com. And then you folks are also, like I said, I'm the planning board attorney. You're welcome to reach out to me. My information is on my firm website, but if you want, my email address is stmidler, MIDLER, @mid-hudsonlaw.com. We'll get you whatever information with regard to applications.
Yeah, I get it, there's studies, I appreciate that. I get it, there's like studies, but the reality is, somebody said about theory versus, there's de jure and de facto. There's what is theory and that's what's really happening. Right now, the traffic over there, I don't even pass there anymore in the morning. I go around the back on the drive. Exactly. So, you can't even cross the street. So, I understand that, technology with the stoplights or whatever, but I mean, like I said, it's de facto. It's what's really happening and we're all experiencing here right now. The other thing, I was going to say something about the flood, but everybody already chimed in on that. So less green, more concrete equals more flooding. That's simple math, really. And like a lot of you have stated already, I came back here in this county 13 years ago. I have an 11-year-old. Before I moved back here, I was living right next to Newark. We chose Orange County, specifically Washingtonville. It's close to the highway, there's the character. It's a suburb. Suburb, high-density housing. 28 units on Main Street, that's not Washingtonville is. So, we have to preserve that character. It's evident that majority, if not all of the villagers here, don't want this. So, I'm just reinforcing that. We also, a lot of people are suspicious because of what's happening in the surrounding communities. So, you know, I don't want to make it about that. I want to make it about Washingtonville. We want to preserve our way of life here. That's suburbs, not high-density housing. We don't want that here. So like somebody said already in the front, somebody already said in the front, other communities allow that. Hey, you're more than welcome to do that over there, not here.
The village did an independent traffic study. You're trusting the people that want to put the development there, their study.
Very good.
They hire their person.
And the water study.
We are relying on the traffic experts of the New York State DOT, and also Orange County would like to review the traffic study.
Will they do a written report?
I don't know if they will do a written report. There will be a written response. What form that response will be, I don't know.
Can I ask a question? Everybody here, I mean, you guys back there in boards or whatever, who actually represents us? Not all you guys here.
We do. The village
You
board
guys.
represents the people. We're your neighbors. I live on Capitol. I've been here 35 years. 2 of my 3 children bought homes in the
So what do you need from us to say no? Just say no. What, I mean, if we stand together and we say no,
I
whose
don't
side
know
are
if I
you
get
on?
3 minutes or anything, but a lot of people here, they spend a lot of time. We should explain just a little bit about this process, that it's not just a matter of saying no. It's a matter of somebody invested in property. They have to comply with the rules and regulations. If they do, you can't just say, well, you complied with 100 things 100%. You just get to say no. You have to
But
have
if we say no, it's no.
Well, it's just that this is
We don't want it.
that's just not how the world works. So we're sitting here looking at their information, making suggestions, and forcing them, not forcing them, but asking them to comply. I heard a lot about water study. Water was one of my things that I picked up with the engineer. I can't tell you how many emails we've got going back and forth. Floodplains. My last email was, you know what? The floodplain data is from 2009. All right, the water was a lot higher than that. We have pictures. What can we do? Well, he has to comply with the 2009 lines, and we can only ask him, say, hey, you know what? The water was 2 feet higher. Maybe you should fix the building. But that's the options we have. So we do care. We're volunteers. We're asking a lot of hard questions, and here we are. So be nice to everybody. Be nice to each other, but understand, it's not just a simple matter of saying no.
Do we get a vote?
Exactly.
I asked that. I did ask that. And people have the right to vote up or down. I didn't get a response to that.
Put it on a ballot.
Okay,
When
then-
does that response come in, if the people get a vote?
The people that vote on this project are the planning board members. And the next,
So we don't get a vote.
yes, the planning board members are appointed. You vote for the village board of trustees, and the village board of trustees appoints the planning board members. Kathy Stegnaga? Sorry.
Maybe let her speak, she's right here.
Everybody has really done a lot of homework on stuff, so I'm gonna stay away from a lot of the other stuff. I'm Kathy Steganga. I represent you on the county level as your county legislator. I also represent the businesses as a chamber, and I have been a resident in this area my whole life. Okay, I was on the forefront for the Sandy. I had gotten off of a plane and I spent the next 2.5 weeks living in my car because of the flood stuff. This building was actually taken over by that flood. We had no prep going. We couldn't reach any of our normal places for actually putting people and taking them from their homes. All of our schools were shut down, all of our roads were shut down. And I'm talking that our police departments, we've actually gotten Humvees and stuff because we couldn't get through anything, okay? The water that everybody's talking about, he's got this great idea for the stormwater management, okay? If you're gonna take the water to send it back into the creek that we have, or the Mudna, and that's all covered, the water's not going anywhere. The fire companies were doing probably 3-4 pump outs every single day, okay? And we had volunteers from all over Orange County that were actually doing all of our flood remediations. They were going in, they were emptying everybody's basements, okay? As most of you know, on Cardinal Drive, all those houses were taken away because of the fact that they were in the flood zones and we couldn't rebuild them. Seward Park, that we're looking at trying to do something with, we weren't allowed to rebuild. So why are we gonna allow a building that's in the flood zones to be demolished to build when we can't build on any of these other properties?
Good point. Good point.
This has been an issue that we got money, we did get mediation money. We've been trying to look for ways to do it. We have been trying to put the parks in place. We've tried to do some of the, the gardens and stuff on these properties, and we haven't been allowed to do that. I still don't understand why we're gonna put any type of multi-housing. On a different note, and I know this just from being on the chamber for how many years, okay, everything has to be conformed. Every time we want to change a sign or change a business, we have to go before the boards here and get permission for that. Okay, why are we going to allow anything that's going to change the character of our community? These houses are there for years and years and years, and just because somebody wants to come in and put those multi-housing, there's plenty of property outside the village of Washingtonville that would still be able to qualify and to give you the same benefits without doing it to our downtown area. And I consider Washingtonville a downtown area. I fight very hard for these businesses. We try and stay afloat. In fact, our Christmas parade was the reason that it actually was designed because of the floods. Okay? That was our way of bringing back the community and putting us together and recovering from that flood. That was our first year that we actually put in. And Rick Lewis was the one who was behind it, a firefighter, because he saw firsthand. His house flooded down in Salisbury Mills. We had flooding all over the place.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you just want to finish your thought, and then your time is
This
up.
is not going to change anything. If we build there and put something that's going to have any density, that water is going down the hill. Okay, and it's going to the houses across the river this way. It's going further this way. Okay, it's going to go further down 94, and every single one of the firefighters and the people that lost their cars volunteering and taking care of us are not going to want to be there again when this happens again, because that's what's going to happen. Thank you.
Nancy Calhoun. I hate to say it, but I've lived in this community for over 50 years. It makes me rather old. The one thing that caught me was this project for 48 units is going to give the village $500 each.
28.
28 units. 14. Okay, 28 units are going to give the village $21,000. Take a look at your own bills. What do you pay to the village? Think about it. 28 units at 1,000 is 28,000. This is more like $600-700. Number one. Number two.
Really?
Does anybody know how old the building is you want to knock down? Tell me. Somebody.
Old.
1870. Well, why don't you go together and make it a historical building? Okay, that's a very important thing. I mean, I've been a representative for 22 years in Albany, and I mean, it's very hard to fight City Hall. But if you can do it with a petition, if not, and I'm going to tell you, if you don't like what you're hearing, then you are the ones that can make the changes. And I'm telling you, and I live on Woodcock Mountain Road. I lived outside of Washingtonville, but Washingtonville has always, the name, the community has always been my home. And that person who just talked is my daughter. And I'm very proud of her.
I handed out 2 clipboards for signatures for moratorium on building. I want to make sure I get those back, and everybody sign them. And then before you go, this is next week's discussion.
Yep. Do you have to be
This sounds a lot. I want everybody, actually,
to be rezoned next Tuesday.
Yeah, this isn't to be discussed tonight, so you can hand one out to everybody.
Keep that track, please. Thank you.
I wasn't called to speak, but I'm from Sloatsburg, Rockland County. I've only been here for 3 years, and I'm amazed. I helped pass out flyers, so everybody come. But but Slopesburg has a sloped house, okay? It's, the name of the town is the house of the people that live there. And what they do is for the fourth graders, they have every year for the fourth graders are brought into the house and taught the history of the town, of why it became Slopesburg. So maybe that's something that we can do, we keep the house. Right. Refix it and teach. Stephanie Troutman?
Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Troutman. I've lived in Washingtonville 31 years. The last 15 years has been at Trailer Park, Washingtonville Manor. I'm not going to get into this tonight because there's something fishy going on there too. That has things that has to do with relation to this project. But everything's been mentioned, the flood zones, the traffic, and all that stuff. And it is true, you're adding more and more people to the village. I have sat at that CVS stoplight for 30 minutes without moving. 30 minutes in the morning. And I'm telling you, it's like, you know, there is no flow. No flow at all. The other thing, you know, is just crazy. The other thing is, and I don't want to get everybody on the negative side here, but the perfume factory that's over by Vanilla Firehouse, AutoZone, we have done the same thing to try to block those projects because of the traffic, because of everything that would be coming in there, the big trucks and everything dropping off. That went through because the board wanted it to go through.
Well,
They
we were
didn't
not
give
the
a
board
shit about.
back then when those projects went through.
Excuse me?
We were not the board
I
back when
don't,
those projects
but
went
you're the board, you're representing the board, okay? So, we can come here and we can talk about it all we want, that we don't want this project to go through and the reasons why. They're the ones that are going to vote it in because they don't care about us. They really don't.
All they care about is the tax money.
They're already paid,
The revenue, that's all.
I wasn't here at the
We did not
last
get
meeting.
paid, we are volunteer, and as said previously, if you can keep, please, just keep the comments to the actual projects.
I wasn't here at the last meeting. Did you explain who the applicants are of this project?
The last meeting also, by the way, and it is now, all the meetings are recorded. So if any meetings maybe you missed or you can't make it, they're all up on YouTube, on the Village of Washington YouTube page, so you can go back and watch all previous meetings. And just like we said at last meeting, when we've had other meetings with these applicants, any ones, if you need any information, stuff like that, you can come down to Village Hall. And also the previous meetings where maybe you might have not been able to attend, because we've had a lot of empty houses here at some of the meetings, they're all recorded. So you can go back and watch all of
So
them.
you
see all the
can't answer
discussions.
that question now since I'm here. I mean, I work 12 hours, I'm a probation officer. I work 12-hour, time slot. I don't have time to be looking all this stuff up. I'm here tonight, and I want the answers tonight. Who's the applicant?
The applicant is the owner of the property, 61 East Main Street Associates LLC.
Hey, shocking.
All right, that's all.
Are you
I'm done.
okay?
I don't want to say anymore.
Okay, thank you. I have, Jackie Budowski.
Budakowski. Thank you. 22 Somerset Drive. For those of you on Somerset, I was the one that handed out the flyers this weekend. I appreciate everybody's comments before, the homework that you did and the facts that you stated. I don't have the time to do that myself, so I really appreciate you coming with that. I am more of an emotional plea here. And I actually, can you pause I have a question. How many bedrooms per, can you explain maybe how many cars would be potentially included in this project?
So there's 56 parking there.
So how many people could live in each unit?
How many bedrooms?
Every unit.
How many bedrooms per apartment?
Every unit is 2 bedrooms.
So they're all two-bedroom.
That's 56 cars.
So again, I'll reiterate the traffic. Anyone that has tried to drive their child to school in the morning or go to work in the morning through Washingtonville, you can't do it. I don't care what kind of crazy technology you put. Clearly the technology here, you don't have that, so that we can't, like, poor people out there can't hear what we're saying. But the technology with stoplights, you're going to somehow allow traffic to go through quickly. That's not how this works. There are so many cars that are, and everyone's in a rush to get their kids to school. If you follow We the People, people make lefts out of the, there's all this controversy about cars. To add that many vehicles in this town does not make sense. This is such a supremely bad idea.
And 31 school buses, one behind you.
Everyone, and then you have to stop and let them out. I mean, this is, we moved here for a reason. We don't want this.
No, just kind of passing it around.
Good job.
I have Audrey Cecina.
Yep, right here. I gotta get my body up.
Well, in regards to what everyone has said, all the speakers here, I'm only gonna add one simple thing, because they've said it all, okay? We must restore our historical monuments, because they reveal the heritage that started America. That house on 61 East Main Street is one of them. And I'm very upset of the house that was demolished in Monroe, in South Bloomingdale. That was a very old house that was built in the 1700s.
That was terrible.
You know, somebody wanted to make a kosher store, okay?
Again,
They
I'm sorry.
could have.
We're making the comments, please.
All right, sorry.
Let her have
All right, so the point is,
Just telling you what's being built there.
Guys,
if you have the
Thank you.
historical building
Listen.
and somebody purchases it, and they can make a business out of it, they can live in it, but not condemn it, not demolish it and replace it with another building, okay? We must restore our historical buildings. If somebody made a generous offer to bring down the Moffett Library to build another business, would the mayor accept it? That's what I'm hearing. He went to sleep. Or maybe he took off to Florida, I don't know.
Well, there's a difference because the Moffett Library is nationally registered as a historic landmark.
How do we get that house on that? Respect of the rest of the
That's a
buildings
state
around here that were
Sorry?
built as long as,
The state.
set
How do we
in
do it?
1700s. The Moffett Library was on.
How do we go forward to get that house historical? I'm sorry.
There is a flood zone there on 61 Street, okay? Leave the house alone. Don't demolish it and rebuild it, no. Just whoever owns it, they can use it. But don't